Driving back down from the Asheville Mountains, Trotter looks forward to getting home for another stirring weekend at Cronies.
But along the way, he meets the ghost, Manny. First appearing as a cougar, then materializing as a hippie monk, hitching a ride to the beach.
Trotter likes him well enough, but doesn't know or trust his motives. Later that evening, Trotter heads down to Cronies.
Up the road a bit.
Hashim, obliging the others after a youth council meeting, walks with them down to the cafe. But, of course, she only plans to stay for a little while, so she pushes her bike, intending to ride it home afterward. She enjoys her mountain bike, is somewhat of a sports rider, and dresses as such.
Trotter sees Hashim and thinks she's stunning.
Hashim looks over at Trotter. She feels the same.
No one introduces them, because they assume each knows the other, from this tight-knit fusion community. As Second Street Jazz sets to burn, they join the others on the dance floor, and inadvertently, boogie together for a tune or two. First, yelling introductions over the music, they waylay to a booth, for more audible interaction. Both recognize that the other is incredibly intelligent, highly creative, and especially sensitive, as most in this community are. As the hour passes, one becomes enthralled with the other, and they take a step outside.
As night starts to fall, Hashim needs to get home.
Trotter offers her a ride, but she has her bike and only needs to ride some 15 blocks away, so she declines.
Then, still excited to have met, they exchange numbers. He writes hers in his phone book, and she writes his on her arm. They give an awkward, but exhilarating hug, and then part.
Hashim hops onto her bike and heads home up Market Street to Forest Hills, Cape Fear Country Club, and the Forest Hills residential subdivision. Cape Fear Country Club. Facts. This golf resort was founded in 1896 and is the oldest private country club in North Carolina. The operation steeps the facility in southern charm. Local to national appreciators note its service levels and quality activities for members. The Forest Hills residential subdivision. Facts. Several years after the country club's founding, city developers built the Forest Hills neighborhoods to surround it. Right in the heart of Wilmington, it's one of the most affluent areas, and offers estate-sized residences, built between the 1920s and 1970s on large, wooded home sites. This authentic legacy neighborhood showcases some of the most exemplary architecture, on wide streets lined with oak trees, hanging Spanish moss, and a blend of architectural styles. Because Hashim rides her bike all over New Hanover County, her big hair and shapely figure have become familiar to the town folk. She's an expected ornament of the city. People call her Mountain Bike Girl.
So they often honk a friendly greeting, catcall harassment, or blow their horn aggressively if she makes a mistake, or is in the way when they're in a hurry. Most aren't aware of her Egyptian, mulatto, ethnic status. With exceptionally light skin, they assume she's fully Euro-American. In addition, some believe her naturally curly hair is crimped, because she's part of the aforementioned, disrespectfully named, counterculture.
Sadly, members of some communities disapprove of her attraction to darker men, and they give her dirty looks, or swerve like to run her off the road, even issue death threats, and go as far as leaving handwritten notes on her bike, and in the mailbox of her Forest Hills home. Though her mom and brother take it quite seriously, she pays it no attention, thinks it's nonsense, even humorously ironic.
Well, as Hashim turns right from Market and into a Forest Hills entrance.
Another little known and repugnant fact.
The postman of these daunting little notes come to make the irony, but naught. Several misguided and violent teen boys and young men consider themselves the radical sector of the already intolerant and inflexible KKK. Finally, night has fallen, and Hashim is nearly home. But on the shadowy tree and moss-covered street just before, the assailants pull up in a rustic old pickup. They rush out to grab her, put a hand over her mouth, and drag her into the truck, while tossing the bike onto the back. Driving around the neighborhood, the boys hold her down, then lift her shirt to the tummy, and burn a silver dollar-sized cross onto her stomach. The scene is hellish. Bringing her back to whence they abducted, they throw her out of the truck, and sling the bike some distance down the road from her. Then they quietly rally in the revelry of another dastardly deed. The truck squeals off.
Not wanting to wail out loud and disturb the typically quiet conservative neighborhood, Hashim screams into her hand, with it clenched tightly over her mouth. Her shirt now sticks to the burn, but she peels it up to see the scarring. Then, recognizing what it is, mortifies her, and she releases a bellowing cry.
One light comes on. Then another.
Returning to the recurring plot.
Incidentally, Madame Laurie's water-white convertible swerves down her street. She knows the music to be respectful, but it still thumps at a moderate level. It is the weekend after all. The madam is making a snow delivery to a well-patronizing wealthy kid and his small dinner party a couple of roads over. So she's aghast to see Hashim in the middle of the street, hands on her stomach, whimpering and rocking herself, then lifting to squint through the blinding headlights. Oh my god! As she quickly pulls up beside her and gets out. Cautiously moving closer, she notices the mangled bicycle nearby. Looks back at Hashim, then queries, "Mountain bike girl?" She looks up at Lorraine, in her usual but stylish white gear, bleach blonde spikes, and snowy white whip. She appears as a literal angel, come to save her. And the car? Her chariot. She stands and throws herself into Lorraine's arms, and unravels into bawling. She doesn't care who it is, the madam knows her name familiar, and that's enough for the moment. Lorraine lovingly receives her. After a beat. "What's up, baby? What happened? You get hit by a car?"
Then reality comes hurling back. Finally, Hashim realizes the true gravity of the circumstance, as a couple of neighbors step out to see from where came the scream. The moment is sobering. She pulls away from the hug, puts her hand over her stomach, and quickly limps towards the bike.
Laurie interrupts. "Whoa. Where you going, little girl?" Hashim stops and cries into her hands. Laurie jogs over to the bike and places it into her back seat. "At least let me give you a ride home." Hashim doesn't want anyone to know, not even her saving angel, and by no means her mama and brother. So through the tears, she shakes her head profusely. No, somewhere else," Laurie consoles, as she puts her arm around Hashim and leads her to the passenger side. "Nothing to see here, folks," she yells as she closes the door. "Mind your flippin' business, people," while she gets behind the wheel, then puts her middle finger in the air as she peels off.
As they drive away, Laurie looks over to Hashim, and she's laughing hysterically.
"How about you flipped him the bird?" "Well?"
Laurie dismisses, which makes her laugh even more. She laughs through Laurie's delivery, and on out of the neighborhood. The concluding gesture was good for her soul.
Finally, she's able to pull herself together. She's embarrassed. No one has seen her this out of order. The burn is severe and still stinging, but she cups it beneath her shirt and can mask the injury.
As the shock wears off and the pain subsides, the two grow acquainted as she accompanies the madam on other deliveries. From Mercer's Pier on Wrightsville Beach to the boardwalk at CB.
Soon, genuinely concerned, Lorraine questions the matter. But Hashim just stutters. So she pushes the convo along. She offers some signature blow to ease her troubles. Hashim has never done drugs, but believes this to be a better time than any.
So she toots that powdered snake, and reality slithers into the snake pit.
As the night passes into midnight and beyond, they find an unusual but solid kinship in one another. Hashim, categorically African American, with a little Euro, and Lorraine, actually Euro, with a bitter African American. Loving it, they cruise around town, laughing, chatting like teen girls, and listening to loud music. Finally, when the city shuts down at 2 a.m., the bars close, and the street traffic wanes. The girls wind up talking late, a few hours in the Independence Mall parking lot, before driving Hashim home around the corner to Forest Hills.
Hashim never does reveal the audacious scenario, but Laurie doesn't seem to mind if it's something her new friend needs to address alone. Because the madame
herself has demons of her own.
The car creeps into Hashim's long dark drive, as she writes Laurie's number on her arm below Trotter's. They hug before she gets her bike, and Laurie creeps back out the driveway. A beat. It's 4 a.m. Her brother has already been out to a party and returned. Mama has been asleep since sundown. She works a 50-hour week to maintain a lofty Forest Hills mortgage. As reality restores, the physical, mental, and emotional pain resurfaces. She doesn't want to stir and wake either of them, or admit the threatening notes were real. So she rolls her bike around to the side and hides it in the shed. Then she gets the first aid kit from the glove box of the family sedan and dresses her wound. Following, she climbs into the back seat and tries to sleep. But she cannot. She has the shakes from cocaine, flashbacks from the assault, and realizes that this nightmare is her life. Over and over again, until morning rises. She sneaks up to her bedroom while Mom is getting dressed for church. She locks the room door and returns to her world, where she can finally release the anguish held for the last 10 hours. After Mama is away, and brother goes, she eventually falls asleep, where she remains for the rest of Sunday, through Sunday dinner and Sunday night.